Yes. Why did I pursue piano? Because I like piano very much. And music is something that I always did since I was young. I grew up with piano. I don't remember a time where I didn't play piano. It's been a huge part of my life. I think the longest I've gone without practicing since I was 6 years old is like probably like a week. So yeah, it's like eating for me. Um, I love music. I love sharing music with people. I enjoy the happiness it brings to other people. And for me, it's more interesting than like a 9 to 5 job. Like, not that piano teaching piano teaching I think is a 9 to 5 job sometimes, but for me, performing to people, sharing music with people, it gives me purpose, and this is why I enjoy music so much.
Do you ever get tired practicing?
Yes.
So you're human after all.
Yeah, everyone gets tired, but like, I think, what did I told some, being a solo pianist, being a performing pianist is a very difficult life. The amount of practice required to maintain the standard it's a lot of practice. And to be able to spend that long in a room by yourself, 8 hours a day, seeing no one but just you and your piano, it can be tough. So not everyone is designed, but that's not the point. I think lots of people take music too competitively about being, I want to be the best soloist, I want to play the fastest, have the least wrong. It's not about that in the end. I just want people to enjoy music, to enjoy listening to music, to enjoy sharing music. This is my goal.
How do you prepare your repertoire for a recital?
Practice. I practice a lot. I mean, what I try to do is I always try to mix old repertoire and new repertoire. If I give a recital and I'm giving all new repertoire, it's very different because the new repertoire will require more practice than the old repertoire. So it's always good to, if you have a program, make small changes as you go along. Don't become too comfortable. Like if you have a program, don't become too comfortable with it. Don't perform for like a year in a row. Always make changes. Like change this piece, change that piece to keep you learning, to keep your brain active. Yes, I think my recital program is slowly changing. Like I'll change 2 pieces this month, and then next month I'll change 1 small piece, depending on how busy I am, depending on how much practice I get. I'm always trying to keep pushing myself to learn new repertoire. Yeah.
How do you build your group? Let's say you're starting from scratch. For them.
Depends what the circumstances actually, because very often if I give a recital, I'll be asked to play a certain piece. I'll say, oh George, can you play Petrushka? And I'm like, okay, I'll play Petrushka, and I have to build a program around that. Always good to have contrast, both in the kind of pieces you're playing, like the composer who's written them, if it's romantic, baroque, it's good to have variety. Also good to have variety in lengths of pieces. You don't want to play pieces that are all too short, like if you just played 5-minute pieces for 90 minutes, it would be nice, but it's like, the program loses coherency. It's too disjointed. Whereas if you have a program that it's nice to have a centerpiece. If you have too many long pieces, or I gave a program in a while ago. I was playing like 4 sonatas. It was too much. One of this lasted like 40 minutes or something. The audience found it difficult. The performer found it difficult. It was too serious. So like, have a centerpiece, have some short, less serious pieces, have some serious pieces. Contrast and variety is the most important thing.
How would you approach a piece for the first time?
Slowly and separately, reading all the markings, metronome, fantastic. I used to try and listen to as many recordings as possible before I start, but now I just try and read what's there, try to keep things really simple, not do any funny business for the sake of doing funny business, if that makes sense. Not to be unique, just I want to have a unique interpretation, so I will do this funny thing here, which actually makes no sense. But there's lots of pianists I feel that do this. Not just pianists, musicians that do this. Yeah, keep things simple.
How do you make the practice time productive?
Difficult question. I think it's important to use your brain when you practice. I think an important thing to understand is practice is brain training. You're training your subconscious to play the piano. You're not training your fingers. Your fingers are controlled by your brain, and you're not conscious. Most of the things you do when you play piano is not conscious. It's always subconscious. So when you practice badly, that's being ingrained into your subconscious. If you just play the piece 15 times, like you're tired at the end of a long day and you just say, oh, I'm going to practice, I'll play this piece 5 times in a row, I'll be fine. It's bad practice because you're ingraining bad habits into your practice. Practice everything slowly, think about everything you do. And also practice performing as well. Practice playing it through as if it's a performance. That's really important. But many people, I think, either just play it through all the time too much, or they just forget to play it through at all and just break everything down slowly and hand separately all the time, and then don't play through. Both sides of practice are important, but they need to be balanced.
Can you give us additional tips on creating a massive sound for a bigger audience? Like, you can do a demonstration.
On the piano, yeah, it's. I think I'm very lucky to have a very big sound, but yeah, it's difficult to explain. In the end, it's not about how hard you hit the piano, it's about how fast you hit the piano. It's always about speed, it's about energy. Also, people forget this, and they're like, if I hit from above the key higher, I will play louder. I rarely, and I think most professional pianists rarely use height and momentum to create a sound. It's inaccurate. It hurts. You will get tendonitis or something, and it sounds bad. Yeah, it's always from the key. It's always about speed. It's about always. Wait a sec.
It's like
I honestly don't think I'll ever need to play louder than that. Really, like it's quite a loud. I'm pushing because I'm just explaining how to make a big sound. But I can make this big sound. My fingers don't even come off the key, so people play like this. It's either for show or they don't know how to make a big sound. It's just about energy. You push in like that. Sorry if anyone's going deaf. Explaining something. I'm not hitting very hard at all. I'm just pushing very quickly because it's the speed of the hammer hitting the string that creates the sound. It's not the faster the hammer hits the string, the louder the sound. Yeah, I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's how I try to think. Yeah, and moving on from that, balance. When you're creating a nice sound, balance is so important. So please train your hands like the hand is always should always be
Leaning.
balanced to the right, not when you're like a kid, when you're like 5, yeah, you want the hand like straight, like you're holding a ball. But in the end, like most of the time, my hand is like this. Like my nails don't even grow properly on my pinky because I'm always voicing to the pinky. I even have like hard skin here because I'm always voicing there. So yeah, and left hand thumbs as well. Left hand thumb voicing is always really important as well. Next.
How was your preparation for the J-Pop competition?
Last minute. They only told us like 2 weeks before that we were going. It's really bad.
So if you had prepared earlier, you would have won the gold.
If I'd have played better. I don't know. It's my first round was my favorite because I went there and I just thought I don't really care if I'm eliminated or not, especially with the politics going on. I just thought I'm there to play. I don't really care that much. I'll probably be sent home anyway, so I'll just have fun on stage. And that was my favorite performance. And I think that there was a sense of freedom in that round, which I tried to have in the next rounds, but I couldn't replicate. The problem is I was trying to replicate that feeling in the second and third round, and I should have just played. I think going back to subconscious playing, I feel that you play best when you're relaxed, when you're just enjoying yourself. The more you think about making mistakes, the more you think about everything that can go wrong, the more likely it is for those things to happen. So in my experience. Maybe other people are different, but for me, that's what works. Preparation. I prepared with my teacher quite a bit. Nothing special. I try to treat it like it was a concert. I try to treat it like it was just. I just prepared how I normally prepare repertoire, to be honest. And yeah, I think people liked it. I think people loved it. But I feel even after a year, I've changed a lot as a musician. Hi.
Do you still include edges and exercises in your competition? And are there any special ways to practice them, like staccato or?
Not really, because I'm very lazy pianist. But when I was young, I did. So you should practice scales. I just practice. I warm up to I practice scales. What else did I do when I was young? I think what I always try to is sort of. I didn't really practice exercises so much, but more it was things in the pieces and I turn it into exercises. Like if I have octave passages, I practice every single way I practice the octaves until I can play the octaves like blindfolded. It's like take the things in your pieces and turn them into exercises rather than just finding exercises. It's yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yes, but I don't. My teacher's very busy, and I'm very busy, so I only see him 3 times a year or something. Yeah, it's not very good, but we're trying to figure it out. Any more questions?
Do you have any routines before your performance, like maybe something to shake off the nerves?
I used to. But then the performance ritual can end up making you feel more nervous. Because if you're nervous on stage, and then you do the same ritual every time, it's like when you're doing, like, oh, I'm going to sleep for 20 minutes before I perform, and I'm gonna do this and do this and do this, you end up building up nerves within that. Does that make sense? It's like, because your body remembers that you're doing this ritual, so your body's thinking, oh, that means I have to do a performance, I'm going to get really nervous, I'm going to have more adrenaline. Adrenaline is not necessarily bad, but too much adrenaline is bad. So I tried doing this performance ritual thing, and it didn't help much. I just do what I want, really. I mean, I don't eat raw fish before a concert. I think that's a bad idea. I mean, I don't drink alcohol at all, but I wouldn't recommend alcohol or any like drugs before concerts. But yeah, just there's nothing specific that I do.
How do you prepare psychologically for a big performance? Are there any self-talk or stuff?
I think that's the problem with for me. If I think of a performance as a big performance, that's when I'm already starting to lose the battle. Because if you think of it as a big performance, your brain's like, oh my god, I have to give a really big performance, oh, I'm getting really nervous, and then your fingers start to shake, and then it's don't think like that. It's really just make performing something that's so easy, and second, practice performing to your neighbor, practice performing to your family, practice performing to your cat. It's make performing part of your practice ritual, so that when you come to a performance, it's just the same thing again. It's people practice piano, we practice scales, we practice the pieces, but we don't practice the act of performing, which is very different to the act of practicing. Yeah, it's something I recommend. Practice cameras, just play to a camera or something if you have no friends. Next. Any more questions?
Can you share your competition journey with our students? Like if they dream of going into bigger competitions internationally, what are the steps that they need to take before they can go that high?
Are you talking about the steps to prepare for the competition, or are you saying the steps before they start preparing for the competition?
I mean your journey. Like before you go to Tchaikovsky, you've been to lots of competitions. They don't just anybody, right? Big competitions like that.
Yeah, it's not just based. So the playing is obviously you have to play well, but then I think to enter a competition like Chopin, like Tchaikovsky, you have to have done. They check your CV, they check who the references are from. Oh, has he played with this conductor? That's good. He's more likely to play well in the competition. It's a big part. But yeah, I've been practicing for a long time, for many years, and all the people entering that level of competition have. I've been competing in competitions since international competitions. My first one was when I was 9, and when I was like young, like up to about the age of 13, I did so many competitions. I had like two international ones a year, like junior level, up to 18 usually. Yeah, when I was like 14, 15, 16, I stopped doing competitions for a while. I did a couple. And then when I was 18, I did my Tchaikovsky competition for the first time. And I didn't prepare well enough. I didn't know the pieces well enough. I was too focused on coursework and other university stuff. I didn't play well, but then I decided that I wanted to do this Tchaikovsky competition, so I did it the next edition, and I did much better, thankfully. But yeah, I did a lot of practice, a lot of performances. The concertos I'd already played many times with orchestra. The repertoire, I practiced performing the programs to different people, especially the first round. We prepared that first round very meticulously with my teacher. I practiced performing to my parents, to my teacher, to just a camera. It was a lot of preparation, and I've done a lot in the 15 years leading up to that competition.
How was your experience in college?
It was great. It was great. It was fantastic. Yeah, I did my coursework and I passed my exams. It was good, yeah, it was nice.
How did you balance the coursework and practice? That's their problem.
By staying up until like 5 a.m. the night before the deadline. Yeah, I think that's what everyone does. It's not like, yeah, everyone's a crammer at music college,
But they
unfortunately.
kept your practice time sacred. I mean,
Yeah, honestly, I depends what you want to do. For me, I always knew performing was the main thing I was doing. And actually, conservatoire, well, I'm not going to speak for every single conservatoire in the world, but as a performer, I feel that music conservatory is not. It's difficult to explain. The teachers, the other staff members will, not piano teachers, but other course teachers will push you to spend more time on your coursework. But as someone who was performing a lot when I was in college, I just have to put up a wall against them and focus on what's more important to me, which was performing. I mean, even my teacher, before I went for Tchaikovsky competition, I still had to, like, this was the first time I did Tchaikovsky competition, I still had to do lessons, I still had to go to master classes. It's not, in the end, it's only good for the college, it's because they want you to get good marks. In the end, they don't actually care about whether you do well in the competition if you failed your year, because it's bad for their stats if you fail. But in the end, for your career, competing in the competition and playing at your best level is more important than getting a first class degree. And I still got a first class degree in the end because actually the weight of it is on the piano playing. But I think it's important to remember music conservatories just want you to get good marks, whereas you, for yourself, and also, like for example, my teacher at the moment, Pascal, recommended that I don't do my masters because it would just distract from everything. Especially when I'm traveling like 8 months a year, how am I supposed to do a masters? It's not possible. So it's the private, the one-to-one teaching is the most important thing. If you want to become a performer, if you want to become a university professor, I wouldn't recommend this approach because it might cause you problems later on. But for a performer, I've never gone to like Suntory Hall and the producer's like, oh George, have you got a bachelor's degree? No one's ever asked me that, but they say, have you performed here? Have you won a competition? Have you done this? That's always more important for a soloist career.
so how many hours did you practice while you were? It was still 8?
Yeah, it's still 8 hours. Yeah. I lived at home during college, so I just practiced at home and came in like 2 or 3 times a week and skipped a lot of classes.
For a question, how do you feel if you didn't win in a competition?
I used to feel sad, but now I don't really care. Yeah, I try not. If you give a bad performance, that's the thing. It's like if you put too much importance on performance. Of course, you can't just come to performances and just I haven't practiced. Okay, I'm still going to perform. You can't think like that. But your practice is important. For me, thinking of performances as important makes me perform worse. Performance is it's just I just have to perform. Think of it as if you practice performing more. Think of it as just something easy, something that comes naturally to you. If you keep on thinking of, oh my god, I'm competing in a competition, oh, it's such a big event, and then you do badly, you will hate performing, you'll hate competing in competitions, and you won't become a performer if you hate performing, because I think it's not just students, it's teachers, it's your family, it's everyone. You build up performances. It's like this really important. It's like an exam. They treat performances like it's some sort of really important exam, and if you do badly, it's going to be terrible. It's better not to. Just don't think about it. Just people are there to enjoy listening to you play. You know the pieces well. It's why so many people can play things well in practice, but when they come to perform it, they just suck. It's their way of thinking is wrong. Any more questions?
What's a typical day like for you aside
Depends. Like I haven't practiced for like 4 days or something now. 3 days. 3 days I haven't practiced. Yes, masterclass. Eating. I had some really nice food here. And when I'm traveling, I try to do nice things. I try to meet people, do nice things. Otherwise, life's a bit boring. What else? What else do I do? I don't know. What else do people do apart from eat and sleep?
anime or something like that?
Oh no.
You watch
Uh,
shows or
I used to watch Netflix, but it just it's not good. It's not good time management to watch Netflix. It's really bad time. I do a lot of emailing. I used to like cycling a lot, but now I have no time. I mean, I can't bring my bike to Manila. It would be quite inconvenient, and it's much too hot to cycle here anyway. Yeah, but when I'm home, I try to rest. I try to do nice things, hang out with my friends, with my family. Try to go cycling when I can. Yeah.
How do you say that your piece is ready for? How do you gauge that?
I try to practice playing through to people as much as I can before I perform. So essentially, when I give a performance, it's not my first performance of the piece. It's like my 15th performance of the piece. That's really important because I used to learn a piece, practice it, play it in small chunks to people, and then when I gave a performance, it would literally be my first time like performing it, or maybe not my first time, but maybe like my second or third time playing it in full to someone. Just practice performing it, and when you give your first performance, it will never actually be your first performance of the piece. For me, it's worked very well.
But you find that it changes if your performance of a piece grows or changes over time.
Always. I mean, I don't think a piece is ever really finished. In every performance, even if you give 2 performances 2 nights in a row, it's different always. Yeah, and I change the way I play based on each performance, and it's always evolving, always changing. Hi.
Hi. Do you often make mistakes when you perform? Do you often make
Yes.
mistakes when performing?
I mean, I make mistakes. I made like some mistakes this morning when I played. But I mean, that's the thing. No one notices them. It actually doesn't matter. The only people that will notice are people that know the piece really, really well. I mean, I also haven't practiced for like 3 days, and I didn't even practice that piece 3 days ago. I played that piece like, I didn't practice it since I was in Korea, but yeah, people always make mistakes. It's impossible to not make mistakes, but the more you think about them, the more mistakes you'll make. Just play, just chill, have fun. It's the best way. Hi.
What legacy do you hope to leave as a musician?
Deep question. I like performing. Performing's fun. Performing's nice. If I just perform my whole life, I think I'd be disappointed though. It's sort of, I'd be like a circus monkey. And you know, these pianists, they play for ways, like you get these 95-year-old pianists and they're still trying to give concerts, and then they forget their notes halfway, and then people still clap for them. I don't want that. I'm stopping, I'm quitting at like 50 max. Maybe 55 if my fingers are still good. But yes, of course I love performing. I love that everyone enjoys my music. But when I'm old and wrinkly and bald, I do want to do more. I mean, I like doing more in education. I like teaching people. I think that classical music has become so. There's a few things. One, it's become so expensive. I mean, like, good teachers come from Europe, they come here to Asia, they charge $250 an hour. Yeah, who can afford that? Who can do that? It's not right. And then the students have to go all the way to Europe, pay for flights. It's not right. If I can support the next generation of artists and not base it on how much money they have, make it less commercial, I think it's really important. I think it's our responsibility as musicians to help the next generation, especially since I'm very lucky to be given many performance opportunities, to have people that want to listen to my music. I think I'm in a position to, I wouldn't say UK has the best piano school. I think we probably have the worst piano school in Europe. But I'm very lucky to have had good guidance from good teachers, to have had my family support my piano lessons every week. Not everyone gets these opportunities. If I can do something to help people, talented people, who just not necessarily, doesn't matter whether they have money or they don't have money, if I could just support them, that's good enough for me.
Well, there's something I'm curious about. What inspired you to do popular music in your encore?
Yeah, my concerts are very serious. It's like,
No,
Wait a
it's
minute.
something that's really beautiful because not all concert pianists do Over the Rainbow or something like that.
yeah, because the program is so serious sometimes. It's like I'm playing like Petrushka, I'm playing very serious classical music. I feel, especially with those who aren't classical audiences, they like to listen to something familiar. Usually if I'm in a country, I try to play some local music. Like when I was in Korea, I played a very famous 1990s ballad, like pop ballad. And when I'm in Indonesia, I really love to play Indonesian music. When I'm in China, I play some Chinese music. I think when I come back here, I'm going to learn some Filipino music too. I think you can connect to the audience in a way that, of course, Tchaikovsky is wonderful, Stravinsky is wonderful, but I think if you play something by a local artist, they all know it. It connects to the audience even more so than the classical music. Hi.
Since it's bad practice when your brain is dead. What do you do if you're going through a burnout or a mental load job that's kind of long term? How do you overcome?
People ask me this, I don't know what they mean by mental block. I've never had like a, what? Oh, difficult question. I have a process that I follow when I practice, when I learn new pieces. It's the same process for every piece. I just go through that process. It's like a set of instructions. It doesn't matter if I have a mental block or anything. I can always go through this. Like I have a set of rules that I follow when I play piano. Like long phrases, good rhythm, lots of color, always have direction. And it's really not. I try to simplify as much as possible so that if I'm not feeling in the mood for practice, it still works. I just simplify everything, take it step by step. Any more questions?
So you practice. Mood has nothing to do with your practice.
It does. If I'm like very like sad, crying, I might not practice. But in general, I think I try to not take things too seriously. To not just in music, everything. I try not to take things too heavily. If something is happening that is bad and I have no control over, I don't care about it. I think it's, as a performer, as someone that doesn't actually control much of their life, I think it's the only way I can survive.
George, as a performer, and you've done a lot of concerts and all of that, how do you keep yourself in the zone while you're playing? Because sometimes it does happen that you're very conscious of everything that you're doing. And out of the blue, you think, what am I going to eat for dinner? Or something like that. Did that ever happen to you?
Often. But as I said before, in my experience, the more I have a problem with balancing. It's sort of like you need to keep your brain here, like it's drifting towards over focus. Because when you think about things too much, it's disaster.
Yeah.
It's like when you think about how you breathe, you can't breathe. Or like when you think about how like your eyeballs are touching your eyelids, it's just a weird thought, and then you become conscious of it, and then it's just linking becomes odd. So it's just better. Honestly, thinking about dinner isn't that bad, because when you're playing, most of it's subconscious. Your brain can only handle like 3 or 4 things consciously. But you're doing so much more than that. So thinking about what you're eating for dinner is much better than thinking about every single thing that you're doing on the keys. Just when it happens, it happens. I try to have a few thoughts that I come back to, like phrasing, color, direction, rhythm. I sort of bring myself back to these really basic concepts. Nothing too complicated, nothing too detailed. But honestly, don't worry about it if you start to think about something else, as long as you feel relaxed. Don't start thinking about something really sad or like something really stressful. As long as you feel free, as long as you feel happy on stage, I think your subconscious works best when you're not stressed out, when you have enough sleep, when you're not thinking about like, oh my god, I have to perform really, really well, I'm really nervous. When you start thinking about that, your subconscious will fail. Oh, hi again, hi.
What's your favorite food to eat before a performance, and why is it probably a terrible
It's
idea?
much less deep question than I thought. Food. What was the second part of the question, sorry?
Why would it be a terrible idea to eat before a performance? This
To
favorite food. of
Eat
yours.
raw fish. Before I said I don't eat raw fish before. Wait, what's the question, sorry?
What's your favorite food to eat before a performance, and why is it probably a terrible idea?
Okay, I like lots of food. I'm a meat person. It's really bad. I eat too much like red meat, too much pork. It's really bad for my cholesterol. I have to eat more vegetables. I like sweet things as well, which is also really bad. So not only am I gonna have high blood pressure, I'm also gonna have diabetes. I love cake, sweets, spicy food. I like spicy food a lot. I think my comfort food is just rice and like bawang goreng. It's Indonesian. It's like fried onion shallots. It's my comfort food. If I'm traveling, sometimes I bring just a jar of fried shallots with me, and like, I eat rice at breakfast, and I just put my fried onions on top of the rice. It's very tasty. Why? What? Not. It's not a bad idea to eat rice, and I think rice and bangor before a performance would be great. But the difficulty is I don't really have a rice cooker and a rice I can bring around to each concert hall. I try not to eat too much before a concert. You just feel like heavy and sleepy and a bit like ill, especially if it's too much cake. Oh, coffee! Coffee's a terrible idea. Oh, terrible before a performance. Yeah, and don't smoke or like, do any interesting thing before a concert. Just yeah, I try to. Common sense is helpful. Just yeah, nothing. Just normal food that you eat daily. No, yeah, as I said before, no raw fish. No like
Something that can make you
raw
ill.
beef or something. Yeah, nothing that can make you ill. It's a good idea. Next question. Hi, Anthony.
You talk a lot about shaping the phrases, lines. Do you think singing is crucial in shaping because it's extremely difficult for us to ask students to sing.
Oh, when you get to my age, you'll love singing. Yeah, like it comes when you're about like 22 or something.
They're
You just
of your age.
oh. Okay, I see. Maybe I sing too much. Maybe I'm just weird. But I think okay, we play a percussion instrument. It's impossible. Nothing you actually play is truly legato. It's very difficult. The only way, like if you play any other instrument, firstly, you're in contact with your note. Wind plays, they literally blow and it makes the sound. Like string players are in contact, well, they're holding a bow and the bow touches the string. But here, I never touch the strings. You know, even when I touch this key, I'm not touching. The only instant when I touch the string, when I have contact with the string, is when it goes down and hits the string. And then it's literally, it's a percussion instrument. So to make things legato, it's really difficult on piano. So we have to artificially create a singing line, and you have to hear it in your mind because you have to know what it would sound like sung or on a violin or on an instrument that can sing, and then try and replicate it on a piano. So if you can't hear it in your mind, if you can't hear exactly how the phrase should be, then how are you going to try and replicate it on a percussion instrument? It's not possible. Yes, I hope that makes sense. Next question. Hi.
Have you always been such a positive person? Because I think it's very amazing that through talking to you with like this, it shows how you perform and it manifests how you think, your perspective, and everything. So it's all positive. So I think that's also the reason why we love watching.
Thank you. That's very sweet. It's a difficult question. I like to be positive because it makes my life better. I feel happier. I think being in the art classical music business and being in I play classical music. I play music by dead people that died like 400 years ago. I mean, as well as that, the performing industry is very tough. So many difficulties, so many obstacles, so many people saying I think if you're pessimistic in this business, just give up, go home. it's difficult enough. If you have a negative outlook, firstly, not only is it very difficult working with people who have that negative outlook, secondly, you will never get anything done. It's the same when performing. If you go on stage and think, this will go wrong, this went wrong in my last performance, this went wrong in my practice, you will just crumble. try not to worry about things. Just if it's not in your control, worrying doesn't do anything. It just makes the problem worse. I think that's why I try to stay positive. There's so many things that are difficult and sad. It's just that by being sad about them, by being negative about them, you're not fixing them, you're just making them worse. Hi.
I have a debatable question for you. I'll give you a situation. It's Bach. You're playing Bach. Are you going to play it in a style of how it was played in a harpsichord, or are you going to play it in a modern, like modern piano?
Okay, so the thing with Bach is that when people say you have to play, or your Bach is not, it's too, people say you have to play Bach stylistically correctly. But even like when you get people like Andras Schiff, who are supposed to be like Bach experts, they're not playing as people played on harpsichord. If you listen to how they use many like note égal, like they don't actually make, when you have semiquavers, they're like dotted every time. No one does that anymore, except maybe harpsichord players. Harpsichord is a completely different, if you played it like you did on the harpsichord, everything would be blanket volume, no shape, no change, and the only way you would change volume or create variety in your sound is with rubato, or by changing the manual. That's literally the only way they can change. It's important to know the context, to understand that Baroque players did this. Baroque players were limited by this on edge, even not just Baroque, but classical, Beethoven's piano, to understand the limitations of instruments that they were using, the instruments of Mozart, the instruments of other composers. The modern piano, I mean, everything you're playing until about late 19th century is a transcription, essentially. It's a transcription from modern piano. So no, you shouldn't play as you do on a harpsichord, but you should be aware of the historical context of the music and understand the circumstances under which it was written. Any more questions? Yeah. Oh.
Are you going to Jollibee Studios?
Huh? Are we gonna what?
Are you going to Jollibee? After this.
Are you going to
Yeah,
Jollibee?
I haven't been to Jollibee yet. If anyone wants to go to Jollibee with me. Oh, okay.